We are live. This is the Flex Network. Guys, can we take a gong of silence as we honor Sir Andrew Luck?
Was that the gong?
It was a proverbial gong.
But there was a gong. I heard someone's phone gong.
Did you?
I did.
Oh.
Thank you, Andrew.
This is compelling podcasting.
I know.
Thank you.
Nothing like a moment of silence on an audio conversation.
Yeah,
Guys,
exactly.
Andrew Luck pretty much shocked the entire world yesterday. Literally, I'm about 14 White Claws in. I'm sitting down, thank gosh, because I almost literally just fell over. I'm sitting down, and Sleeper, of course, the golden goose of the Sleeper updates, turning everybody that you know into a fantasy expert, sends me a little update. Andrew Luck has filed for retirement. Retirement? I'm not understanding. And then I had to swipe it again just to see Andrew Luck retiring from the NFL out of nowhere. Unbelievable.
I think we all thought it was a joke.
I did too.
I know. I didn't think it was a joke. I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, I could see why people might have thought it was a joke, but it makes sense, man. You know, I mean, he's gonna have a huge career in broadcasting or anything else he wants to do. Why put your body through it if it can't do it?
Before we get too much into it, Shane and Season Long says, brothers, how are you doing? Shane, you just had a whole entire week off. I believe was it anniversary or just taking a week?
It was kind of a crazy week. Last Saturday was just 10 years being with my wife, so we did something for that.
Ooh, congrats.
Thank you. But no, it was I just had the week off work, so we rented a little cottage south of the city. So we spent 5 days there. Just got back yesterday. Well rested, caught up on all my fantasy footballing throughout the week, and it was fun. It was relaxed. I'm happy to be back though.
Season Long says, brother, what's going on with you?
I'm here. I'm doing my thing. Happy anniversary, Shane. I like your bow tie, Matt. I'm ready to flex with you guys this morning, Sunday morning.
You know, this again is a morning flex for us here, just because time zones and availabilities. I'm rocking this thing at 7 a.m. in a bow tie. Okay, that's how hard we go here on the Flex Network. But Andrew Luck, Season Long, says, how did you feel? I mean, did you not just want to call your closest buddy and just sit on the phone for an hour about Andrew Luck retiring?
Well, this is going to go down as this is one of those moments, you know, like where were you when? You know, they always say, where were you when JFK got shot? Where were you when this event happened? You know where I was? I was eating dinner, having a glass of wine, and all of a sudden, the geek calls me, and I said, what does this lunatic want? Usually I'm pretty good checking my updates, and he's like, Andrew Luck retired. Get him off the rankings. Get him off the rankings. I mean, like, this is what fantasy football weirdos do, man. We just immediately think about our rankings, but yeah, it's I'm glad that he's getting out before it gets too bad, and I'm really interested to talk about it and what it does to all the ancillary players around him.
So let's dig into it a little bit. Today we've got Andrews' Arbitrages and ADPs. That's the name of the cast here today. Thank you, Shane. Good one. But obviously we can't deny the Andrew Luck news, so we're going to go ahead and start with Andrew Luck. Then we're going to roll into our survivor strategy. Season Long says has entered us into a huge survivor pool.
I'm very excited about that.
I am too. I there's a couple things that I've really just jumped into the waters with this season because of you guys. One being Auction League, which was just phenomenal and awesome time. And now I'm like hard pressed to just not create 100 auction leagues. And then now we're going to go into Survivor. So that's great. And then we're going to end the cast with our favorite, not our favorite, but a couple amazing arbitrage plays on this season. But says, what kind of impact does one Sir Andrew Luck leaving the NFL have on the whole entire fantasy game this year? Jacoby Brissett, QB1?
Let's not get crazy. But yeah, props to Shane on the title of the podcast. I would thought maybe shit out of luck would have been an appropriate title too. SOL.
I love it.
Damn it, that was better.
Yeah.
we can change this.
I posted it in the chat. It got no likes, so I thought maybe it was too soon. But anyway, either way, yeah. I mean, the obvious is T.Y. Hilton's going to be affected. I've moved him down in my rankings from wide receiver 15 to wide receiver 19, right ahead of Allen Robinson. I don't think we should overreact with Marlon Mack. The offensive line at the Colts is still one of the best in the league, probably the second or third best offensive line, and they may not be in the red zone as much, but they'll certainly Marlon Mack will get the opportunities. Jacoby Brissett is certainly not a zero. He's probably the 23rd best QB in the NFL, something at least, and there's certainly upside for more. So I think we got to knock our pass catchers down a little bit. We keep Mack where he is, and Brissett gets drafted as a perfectly fine QB2 in Superflex leagues, probably left to the wire in single QB leagues, or is a backup in the 16th round.
Now, Shane, you and I have picked up Brissett in pretty much every dynasty league on the ready, but also for last week. I mean, we saw this coming down the pipeline a little bit, that Andrew Luck may be missing some games. If you did not go and pick up Brissett and you had Luck, I mean, I feel bad for you, because Andrew Luck, if you drafted him, if he's on your team, he's got to be one of your only guys that are, you might have gone Andrew Luck and Eli Manning or something like that. And then you needed to have gone out and got Jacoby Brissett. Of course, in the Flex network, what we do is flex. So we have Andrew Luck and Kyler Murray as our backup. And that's a 1-2 punch if I've ever seen one. But Shane, don't you just feel so great that you went after Jacoby Brissett a week early?
Oh my good God. Yes, I do. Well, I think it's a really good point. I mean, especially in your one quarterback leagues, we're talking both dynasty and redraft. I mean, typically in your redraft leagues, you are not going to have a backup quarterback, even if it's Andrew Luck, and even if he's the only guy on your roster, you're going to be able to find somebody. You can go to the wire and grab Jacoby Brissett, or I mean, maybe you have a Kirk Cousins that's sitting there on the waiver wire. So in a one QB league, no, I wouldn't have gone out in just a redraft league and gotten Jacoby Brissett. But in one of my dynasty leagues, to your point, I mean, when you're rolling with Andrew Luck, you're not exactly super worried about your depth at at quarterback, simply because he's your guy. I mean, every single week you're going to be starting Andrew Luck, unless you've got maybe like a Patrick Mahomes that you got in your dynasty leagues. I think it's a perfect example, just looking at one of my dynasty teams where I had Andrew Luck as my QB1, and then I had a bunch of question marks. I had Daniel Jones, who I picked up in the rookie draft this year. I had Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I'm kind of praying would start early, simply because I didn't know what was going to happen with Andrew Luck. And then same thing, I had Case Keenum, who, crossing my fingers, if he's going to start in week 1. So it was getting kind of dicey. And when I was looking at my my QBs and there's no definitive one, I went out about a week ago and picked up Jacoby Brissett in a dynasty league, and thank God that I did it. Otherwise, I would be scrambling right now.
Scrambling like eggs in the morning. We're here in the morning. Says Jacoby Brissett. Not Jacoby, sorry. T.Y. Hilton says the splits that T.Y. Hilton has without Luck in the game is a definite variance on his play level. I have seen a lot of people on Twitter, just kind of like you, where we have him pre-ranked at wide receiver 15. They've dropped him to wide receiver 30.
No, that's an overreaction. That's an overreaction.
I don't know that it is. When you look at the splits of T.Y. Hilton, and if maybe one of you guys can pull it up, because I just rocked this thing without information in front of me. But when you take a look at T.Y. Hilton's production outside of Andrew Luck, it's really not good. It's really not good. Right. Now, does this mean that we go out and we buy T.Y. Hilton in Dynasty for a bag of peanuts?
Well, I think T.Y. Hilton was a sell even. Logan, shit on luck was better. That's what he wrote. Shit out of luck. It's shit out of luck. Like, SOL, the saying. That's what Logan. I think T.Y. Hilton was a sell even with Andrew Luck. He's age 29. He's off. He's one of those brittle sort of wide receivers. At this point, I think his value is super low. Yeah, I mean, if you can get him for a, would you pay a 2022nd for him right now in Dynasty?
Ooh, that's a good question. A second round.
I would. Absolutely. For T.Y. Hilton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would for 20. Yeah, absolutely. For
so
two,
if you own
100%.
if you own 2.02 next year in a very deep, amazing draft class, you would pay 2. I mean, it's a fair question though. It's fair value. You snap called it, Shane.
Yeah. No, I mean, here's the bottom line. Yes, the guy is still unproductive, but when you go back and look at that 2017 season when he didn't have Andrew Luck, yeah, his stats were way back. Okay, 57 receptions, 966 yards, and only 4 touchdowns.
How many games?
That was over. Let's see.
Was it 16 or no?
I don't have it on the stats here.
7 or 8 or something?
Again, that's why we can't look at the total.
Well, no, it was most of the season. But I mean, the bottom line is he still was close to 1,000-yard receiver. He still had, a few touchdowns. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but here's the thing: is when they went and got Jacoby Brissett, they got him. What was it, like week 3 in the preseason? The Colts went out and got him that year, so they didn't have an off season to work together. They didn't know the system. Jacoby Brissett's now going into his 3rd year with the Colts. He understands the offense, and I think that he's going to be a lot more productive.
Would you think that the T.Y. Hilton owner would sell for 2022nd in most leagues? Because that, a lot of the listeners that are in dynasty leagues, they want to know what they should do, what they should offer. I mean, what do you, if you own T.Y. Hilton, would you want to get out with it? Do you think you can get him for 2022nd, or would it take?
Here's the thing right now, right? If you're the T.Y. Hilton owner, this is probably the peak rock bottom of where his value is right now.
Right.
The valley. Are scared, right? So yeah, I mean, if somebody was to go and throw a 2022 at me right now, I would kind of say, go fly kite. Like I wouldn't accept that. I would say if you are a Hilton owner right now, it's probably a hold, because you're simply not going to get the value that he's worth. Now, week 2 comes around. Do you really think that he's going to go less than a 2022? Do you think that it's going to get to the point where it's like, shit, I wouldn't even pay 2023 for this guy? I don't think it'll get that bad, which means that I think that his value can only go up. So if I'm an owner and somebody's going to come in with me with a 2022, I would hold.
Also, I saw that we've the three of us have talked about Brissett being in his contract year, so they're going to have to make a decision whether to keep him next year or not. I was thinking that is a team, maybe even the Colts, going to offer Nick Mullins. I thought would be an interesting guy to trade for, to add some depth and then see where you're at. But I don't know about the logistics of it. Do you guys are you interested in Nick Mullins being traded to a team that needs a quarterback?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I like Nick Mullins.
I thought he was good.
I thought he was good too. I mean, he's again one. He's that actually. It's kind of funny. Him and Jacoby Brissett kind of have a similar thing here, where they're essentially trapped behind big money QBs, where the only way they're going to get any type of show in the offense is in an injury, and an injury happened. Nick Mullins showed out, and he's going to be the Nick Foles potentially of this year or maybe next year. You see the winds are a storming here about trade news and some big guys potentially on the move. Nick Mullins could be one of those quiet trade options for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't like saying Indianapolis, right? I mean, geez, that's a big old word. Can't you just be like the Bucking Colts or something like that, or something easier than Indianapolis? Okay, jeez, how are you going to expect guys to say that when you're the Indianapolis Colts every single time? I mean, gosh, we need a new name. Anyway, Nick Mullins is under the radar option. What would you give San Francisco for Nick Mullins?
What would I give them?
Yes. Yes.
I
You're playing
think.
GM. What are you giving up?
I mean,
The only way you trade for Nick Mullins right now is if you believe Jacoby Brissett's not the guy.
well, also, or if you don't think that you want to pay him next year, even or it's a backup plan. So I'd probably offer a third, but they're going to want a second from a team right now because they're not why they want to give up Nick Mullins for anything less than a second. Now, you have to decide. I just think that
Didn't they get Jimmy G for a second?
They did.
So you're saying that it's the same value? I think that's crazy.
I'm not saying it's the same value. I think just like with contract and anything it's timing. So right now, if a team was desperate for QB, or then the timing is right. It's just like the housing market. The same house can be worth two different prices at two different times. The timing of the market. So Jimmy G was a bargain, whereas Nick Mullins would be expensive.
Yeah.
But do you think that the Colts would go out and spend that sort of draft capital for a backup? Because I don't think there's a world where Nick Mullins like rolls in tomorrow and he overtakes Jacoby Brissett on the depth chart.
Let me be a little more clear, I guess. So what I was saying is that Jacoby Brissett is in a walk year. If you don't think that you want to pay what you're going to need to pay Jacoby Brissett next year, you need to start making plans now for next year while Jacoby Brissett, while you give him a full season tryout. And if you can acquire someone with a little upside like Nick Mullins for a third round pick, at least you have another QB in the hole with experience on a rookie contract. I'm just saying because if Brissett walks next year, then what the Colts win window is now, then you're in a really tough situation.
Well, also I'm thinking, I mean, I know that Tennessee went out and, got Tannehill, but Tannehill might be a good placeholder if they feel like they're ready to win now. I don't know, as you guys kind of are making me feel like Jacoby Brissett might not actually be QB1 in that offense. And that breaks my heart because I like a good story. I like a good, he's going to get his shot. He takes it. He runs with it. He wins the Super Bowl or something like that. We got a listener here, Logan. We love you, Logan. Thank you. He says, I think they are going to stay with Chad Kelly. That's another, that's again kind of what I was saying is why do they spend so much big, high draft capital on somebody like Nick Mullins when they can just roll with what they got? The Indianapolis Colts, there you go. I got it. They're not accustomed to losing out for your big first round pick quarterback coming next year. You got a couple, three of these guys coming out next year where you might be able to get them if you're in a top 15 pick. All would be good, serviceable young guys and just give Jacoby the reins this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I listen, I think Jacoby Brissett is definitely at minimum replacement level QB. I don't think we need to beat a dead horse. Shane hit on it perfectly, saying with 3 years experience in the Colts offense, plus his time behind, I don't know who said it, Matt or Shane, and plus his time learning behind Tom Brady. I think that they have it set up for this year. I'm just thinking about future years when this guy's actually going to want to get real QB money. I could see him asking 25 plus per year next year. And then you have to decide, is that worth it or not?
Well, he'll just have to go out and show us if he is or not. But Jacoby Brissett splits against Cleveland. He was 8 completions on 10 attempts for 100 yards and a touchdown recently here. Jacoby Brissett, he's, Andrew Luck, again, shall we just give it a moment of silence for our friend, Sir Andrew Luck? Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate your time. One of my favorite quarterbacks to watch since Russell Wilson got drafted because they were drafted in the same year. Another reason why Russell Wilson is the man. If you can remember the other quarterback, Shane, drafted in that year, both quarterbacks are out of the league now almost, essentially in the 2012 draft year. And you got Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champ in that time. Andrew Luck just not worth the money after it's all said and done.
I don't think it's fair to say Andrew Luck wasn't worth the money. I mean, just look at when he was on the field last year. I think he was worth every penny. I just think that it's just proof that you have to really appreciate these guys who've had these long careers. I mean, everybody kind of bugs Tom Brady for being ancient, but I mean, other than that one missed 2018 season because of the ACL, he's had a very productive and healthy career. And you look at the other side of things, and like even Peyton Manning, like that was a lot of uncertainty, but he was able to come back. But man, when you don't have your health in the NFL, it's very sad, frankly.
Says this Survivor League that we're going to be talking about here. Can you give us a little bit of backstory on just the Survivor League that we are in, and before that, maybe a little bit backstory on what a Survivor League is? I think everybody who we're podcasting to gets it, but just in case.
Yeah, no, I think you're smart to assume, because Survivor is one of the best games in fantasy, and there's many reasons for that. So basically, Survivor it's a large pool of people. It could be 10 people, or it could be 100 people, it could be 1,000 people or more. We're going to be in a Survivor pool with, I think it's 125 people, and we each put in our entry fee. This one is $25, and all you need to do in order to survive is pick one real NFL game winner a week, without the spreads. So week 1, for example, Green Bay and Chicago are playing. Regardless of what the point spread is, you just have to pick the winner. And if you pick the winner, you move on to week 2. And you keep doing that until you lose. Now, here's the wrinkle. Here's the trick about Survivor. Once you pick a team, you can never use that team again. So if you pick Green Bay in week 1, you can never use the Packers again. So again, it's just survive. Whoever's left. This pool can end in week 5, or it can end at the end of the year with a handful of people splitting whatever winnings are left. So, a lot of times you see an 11, 12-point favorite, and sure enough, everyone's on that favorite, and it's the NFL. Things happen. So it's pick one winner a week and survive.
So,
have you guys ever been in a Survivor pool?
I think I've been in a we got a commenter here. Le'Veon Bell sharing the load with Ty Montgomery. Question mark says, go ahead, take this one.
That's not code for anything, right?
No. Go ahead, Seth, take it.
Oh, the question? Okay, we'll come back to Survivor. That's all of the early indication is that early on, that can mean the first game, that Ty Montgomery is going to have a significant role. Now, significant role could be 10 touches. I think that's what I would expect, 8 to 10 touches. I don't think they're going to give Le'Veon Bell 30 touches out of the gate, probably 15 to 18. But there's no reason to think that they won't get Le'Veon Bell to be the workhorse. Ty Montgomery is a pretty good buy right now, and he should be picked up in all redraft leagues, drafted certainly in the 14th, 15th round. I picked him up in a few dynasty leagues. I think that's a good, smart play in PPR. Anyone else want to add anything?
Well, no. So my 2 cents on that is I think that he's no more than a handcuff. I don't think he's going to have standalone value. So, I mean, if at the end, at the end of your draft, you need to pick up a guy and you're kind of rolling the dice on like a Chase Edmonds or, it's a guy who you're taking a flyer on. He's not going to have standalone value.
That's certainly possible, but he is going to get those more than a handful of touches. That was the commenter was referencing a note that went out this morning that Adam Gase had confirmed that they're not going to put it all on Le'Veon's shoulders, that Tom Montgomery is going to be significant.
But how much of that do you think is simply because he hasn't played for a year and they're going to try to ease him into the, for the first couple of weeks, make sure he doesn't get an injury?
What you just said.
Yeah.
Or what if that just means that he will be taken out of the game on third down? I mean, that could be, significant, where Le'Veon Bell's a 3-down back, can run the ball, can catch the ball, can block. Why would you take him out on third down? Well, if you're trying to save the wheels, give him the ball on the first, second down, stick him in there on third down every now and then. But I mean, Ty Montgomery has looked really good in the preseason. He's looked good his entire career, really. I mean, when he's gotten the opportunity, he's been a very serviceable back. And this is just something that the Jets do. Okay, they keep these guys around and they play them and they give them a significant snap share, and they do well in fantasy. So I really like Ty Mont. We got this other comment here: Brissett over Prescott. That is probably a little bit much. I don't know. I really like Dak this year.
Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott should be in. He always finishes around like QB like 13, 11, 8. I mean, Dak runs in touchdowns. He gets like 6 or 7 a year. He probably could project them for 4. I'm certainly taking Dak in my top 12 or 13 QBs. Brissett, again, as I said earlier, is probably like QB like 23, 24 for me.
And we will get back to the Survivor League.
Yeah,
we have
I
to
would say-
Tangeal. We have to Tangeal, but what we didn't forget, okay, it's a sidebar news from the incredible news of Andrew Luck, but Lamar Miller tears his ACL. The big news is now that the Melvin Gordon trade to Houston, all of this talk about him potentially going to Houston, it's back. Okay, it was there the second he was holding out. It kind of went away, but it's back now. Does Gordon, Melly Gords, get traded to Houston? Yes or no?
Well, I think here's the question we really need to be asking ourselves is, can Duke Johnson carry the load? And he's never really had to do it before in his career, but I would say that he's probably got a pretty good chance of being able to carry the load. So why would they go out and spend, well, obviously reasonable, probably draft capital, probably a third or fourth rounder?
They don't have it. They don't have it. They gave it up for Duke Johnson, the third rounder.
Well, there you go. See, and you know, it's just a matter of, I don't think it makes sense. Like
No.
at the time before they had Duke Johnson, yes, 100%. But I think that they got Duke Johnson with the idea that he could become the starting running back and overtake Lamar Miller in general. So I think they have their guy.
Well, yeah. What you guys might not be understanding too is Jadeveon Clowney's on the block. So there's a lot of reports that it's a really nice fit in Seattle. Seattle has extra second rounder and an extra third rounder. I mean, what if they off Jadeveon Clowney for an extra second and then go out and spend that extra second on Melvin Gordon? And it's no.
Who's going to help them win a Super Bowl?
I don't know. I don't know. Can Duke carry the load? I guess that's really the question, and we will have to see. So, says getting back to this Survivor League.
My head is spinning from topics. Boom, boom,
it's spinning.
Boom.
We're here. We have to be all over the place. We've got viewers. We've got comments. This is great.
It's like the old cartoons when they would shoot a bullet and it would bounce off every wall and they would be ducking because it would go boom, boom, boom. It's like you're constantly dodging bullets of topics here. It's crazy. You got to keep up.
Well, hey, after the day that we had in the league yesterday where you got just rocked out of nowhere with Andrew Luck news, and then Sleeper broke after the Andrew Luck news. And then while I'm trying to log on to Sleeper, somehow the notification, boom, Lamar Miller ACL, and just rocked you. So, we have to Tangeal today. We were not prepared for this news last night, but we're here now. Survivor Leagues says, is there or can there be a strategy to a Survivor League?
There is a strategy, and I look forward to talking about it every week. I mean, are you guys? I'm really excited to talk about our picks every week and really hash that out and each make our case. So there's two basic ways to play Survivor, and the worst way to play Survivor is to say, hey, let's save this team for next week, or let's save this team down the road, because there may be no down the road. You have to play Survivor for the current week. And I think a lot of people make that mistake saying, hey, let's save New England for when they play Miami in 2 weeks. And as we know, New England sometimes has a slow start, and they could have a loss in week 3 as a heavy favorite. So you have to just be really careful with that. Secondly, it's not only the team that's most likely to win each week that you should pick. You need to look at what the pool is picking. So if, say, for example, 90% of the pool last year in week 1 was on the Saints as a 14-point favorite, the smart play was to fade that and take the second most likely team to win. Now, literally 3/4 of the pool last year lost in week 1 on the Saints. I pivoted to, I forget who the other team was, but literally 70 people were out in week 1. So not only do you want to take the most, you want to look at who's the most likely to win, but you want to look where the percentage of the pool is on. And you can see those numbers by looking at the spreadsheet. Or check. Yeah, sorry.
To me, it seems like just getting my idea of a Survivor pool or Survivor League, wouldn't you want to kind of bank on, I know you said don't wait on the team that's maybe a lock or whatever that week, don't bank them, but it seems like you would want to have a couple of these, Saints, Packers, Patriots in your pocket for week 15 when you've made it that far.
Yeah.
So you're saying yes or no on that?
I'm saying do not do that. Do not do that.
So how far down would you look at? Okay, so I think that like earlier in the season is probably even harder, right? Because
week
every
1
single
is
year in the NFL, teams are going to come out and they're going to look completely different than the previous
correct.
year. But say it's week 4, we're still alive. Are you looking 2-3 weeks out and kind of having a game plan in terms of, okay, this week I like these 3 teams. Next week I only like one of those teams, so I'm going to save that team for next week? Is that something you would approach, or is it simply every single week you look at it in a vacuum and then you roll with that information?
I think you could pay attention to what's coming down the road. If there's 2 teams that you like identically the same and they make a sense from a pot odds play. Now, I just want to make sure that was I clear on explaining about not always taking what you would call the most likely to win? You called it a lock. That's dangerous in Survivor because every year it's the reason people lose in Survivor is because everyone's on a lock. And then when that lock loses, the whole pool's on complete tilt.
Okay, I think it's appropriate that it's called Survivor, because for all those Survivor fans who watch the TV show Survivor, the second you think that you're safe is the second you put it out.
Right. So
just lock.
So just say there's an 85% favorite one week. Like 85% favorite would be like a 13 to 14 point spread. Just say on like the Saints, a home dome team. But there's another team, just say, who's it would be a pretty good team? Just say Chicago. I'm just making up the schedule. Is like a 6-point favorite at home against an okay team. The whole pool is going to be on the Saints, or at least most of them. So even though the Saints in that particular week might be an 85% favorite, if 68, 72% of the pool is on them, we may want to pivot to someone who's like a 78% favorite. So again, we're not picking the highest favorite in a given week. We're also taking into account how many people are likely to be on that. Because if tragedy strikes, we want to be able to capitalize on that. And sure, sometimes you're going to pick the non-optimal pick because the payoff is so big. Think of it as like a lottery ticket. When you buy a lottery ticket, you don't expect to win. But if you do win, the payoff is so enormous that it becomes worth it.
Is there like a solid way to flex in a Survivor League? I know you say like, if the general pool is going to be on one person, or one game, then we might want to deviate. But I feel like in DFS, this kind of was the same thing, where in GPPs or whatever it is, they found that when you stack players, when you stack offenses, sometimes it can be a little more successful. Is there a way to really dig into this and flex on everyone else's leagues, or is it kind of a take the week by week and again just listen into our podcast who's going to give you the play every week? So I mean, you basically will just win if you listen to us. That's just it.
Yeah, Survivor is really hard to win because only one person wins the pool. But what we need to do, especially if we're going to do a podcast about it, is list our top 5 Survivor picks of the week in order which we like them. So if a lot, it'll be week to week dependent, because not everyone's going to have. If we like, again, I'll use New England, who's usually a heavy favorite. If they're the best play of the week, they may have been used up by a majority of the pool in a previous week. So we're going to take that into account. And officepools.com has the best data. It takes into account tens of thousands of office pools from across the country. So officepools.com has the best survivor data out there. And again, it takes into account, like home league survivor pools, but we're in a home league survivor pool. We're not in a professional one. We're in one with a bunch of other dopes like us.
And we are the home league killers here on the Flex Network. If you're seeing the drafts that we're putting out lately, it's amazing. It's amazing. And of course, the one prerequisite is that you get everybody else drunk in your home league to where they pull a kicker off in the 7th round. And it's glorious. It is the most glorious thing you'll ever see in your entire life.
I want to answer Shane's Survivor question. I would say vacuum week by week is the best strategy, because there is no tomorrow. If we don't get it right today, there is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow here on the Flex Network. We're always here to kill it now. Actually, let's tell our listeners, tomorrow we have a very special guest. It's a secret, But there hopefully will be a tomorrow for us here at the Flex Network. We have a very awesome special secret guest. We have baking this one in the oven.
Let's
The
hope
oven, it's
let's hope he shows up.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad if he doesn't show up. Yes, but it's a big nice. So I wanted to talk about our big Lamborghini that we're riding into our redraft strategy here, which is the Flex Network's arbitrage plays on the season. Okay. Now, if you can pull up the definition to arbitrage here, just again for our listeners that do not understand what the term means, and then I will go ahead and explain it in layman football terms. Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, great! So you caught me off guard with the actual.
Oh my gosh! I gave you about like 20 seconds to get this ready here. I tried my best to spell it out.
Okay, I would like to. I think that we need to just simply explain it in football terms.
Okay,
do you want me to roll with that, or do you want to?
Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so for the layman's out there, simply an arbitrage play is when there's two similar players either on the same team or in similar positions, where one guy is going significantly higher by ADP than the other player. So the one that we commonly will talk about is the DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel arbitrage.
Yes. So basically we're out on DJ Moore this year in redraft because you have to take DJ Moore when the Flex Network believes that Curtis Samuel will either be even or even surpass DJ Moore in fantasy points this year. Then we're out on DJ Moore, and that's just simple. So that's essentially what an arbitrage play is, where that's what we do. We flex. Says when I had a phone call with you last night, you actually laid out an arbitrage play that I really hadn't been thinking of, and it ties right into a player that I'm directly avoiding this year. And after watching the Seahawks again display that they are a run-first offense, and please says, give me one of your best arbitrage plays for this redraft season here.
Well, you know who the Seahawks running back is? Chris Carson. Do you remember who the running back that I'm going to arbitrage him with is?
Yes, Aaron Jones.
Right, correct. Okay, so Aaron Jones, basically, as I take the definition of arbitrage, is a player that's going higher in ADP that we can get, meaning going later in the draft, that we can get that we like better than someone going significantly higher. Now, when we talk about the difference in ADP in rounds 2 and 3, that even though it's only 1 round, or 2 and 4, even though it's only 2 rounds, those are very important 2 rounds. So the difference between round 2 and round 4 is probably even greater than the difference between round 6 and 10. So I think Chris Carson should be going at the end of round 2, beginning of round 3, but you can get him anytime. Every drafter is going to have a shot at him in round 3. He's literally not going until the 3-4 turn. Sometimes I see him go at the end of the 4th. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like Aaron Jones, but I think there's more question marks around him with durability, he's never carried the full load before. There's some other players there that the team likes, Jamal Williams, and there's just question marks where there's no question marks right now that Chris Carson is the lead back. They've already talked about, the coaches have talked about how they want to get him 50 targets. Now you add, 35, 38 catches, 41 catches to Chris Carson's yardage total and touchdown upside. We're talking about probably RB12 that should be going in the 2nd round. Every drafter is going to have a chance for him. So I think he's a good arbitrage, Chris Carson, with Aaron Jones. I would take Carson over Jones at this point.
That's a flex. Go ahead, Shane.
The only thing I want to comment on that is that with all the news that Carson is continuing to get all the first team touches, his ADP has gone up quite significantly in the last 3 or 4 weeks, to the point now where I'm looking at the NFFC ADPs, and Aaron Jones is at 27.8, and Chris Carson is now at 36.6. So it's essentially almost 3/4 of a round of value that you're going to be getting in Chris Carson, which is still an absolute value when, if you're going to be getting a guy like Aaron Jones, who there are still a lot of question marks. I mean, I think a lot of fantasy fans want him and pray for him to be the starter. but I mean, we still have no idea what's going to happen in that Green Bay offense. Whereas Chris Carson, I mean, the coaches don't lie when they're giving their players the touches. They're giving Chris Carson all the touches with the first team offense, and he's looking good. And once again, he's going to take advantage of it. So at this point, I mean, are we basically saying that we're out 100% on Penny?
We're not out. We're not paying a 6th or 7th round pick anymore. We're waiting for him to fall to the double-digit rounds,
which will never happen, and that's okay. I mean, we don't have to go and grab Penny. You also do not have to go and grab Penny if you did draft Chris Carson. And that's okay too. There's plenty of plays that you can go to solidify your run game if you're a little goosey on Chris Carson for some reason. But man, he is a beautiful runner, isn't he? I mean, when he comes down the pipe, he's gonna hit you, and he's gonna hit you real hard. And he looks, oh my gosh, he's got wheels. He looks good. What do you got, Says? What do you got?
I was just looking at my home league draft, which is again, it's not. There's a lot of pretty decent players in it. It's still a home league, but there's still and Rashad Penny. This was 2 nights ago. Went 9.9, so it's close. It's getting there.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah, it's getting there.
He's got to be getting there, and I think the fantasy community is just, when all the dust is settled, when all the dust is settled, I would be surprised that you might see an Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, just bloop bloop, 1-2, like right in the 3rd round, boom boom. All the running backs, due to injuries and just being goosey on the position, it just seems like they're all going to be gone by the 3rd round. I mean, come on.
I think it's so funny that when you looked at the ADPs super early in the season, like let's call it March, April, and you just saw like, oh man, this is going to be such a good year for running back. There's just so many guys at the top, and then it's just like seems like every week, bang, something happens. It's the Ezekiel Elliott, it's the Melvin Gordon, it's even like your depth running backs, like your Lamar Millers of the world, that are just falling off the maps, and their ADPs are just plummeting. And what was once a more certain position, as much as a running back position can be certain, it's now there's so many question marks at the top.
Fantasy football is just such a beautiful game. It is. And I was listening to Evan Silva the other day, and he was talking about how early drafts reward the better fantasy football player, and then later on drafts reward your average fantasy football player. So Says is ready to pop up his screen here for his draft. Tough to see it a little bit just for the viewer, unless you can zoom in here.
You can go full screen. You can put it full screen if you want, all the way on the right. There you go.
There you go.
And 9.9 is Penny, if you can see it.
There you go. 9.9. So in it, and it's not to say we're completely out on Penny in that round. But Says, go ahead and read us off a couple of the other picks in the 9th round that went around that area there.
Well, Lamar Miller. The running backs that go in there, it's pretty crazy. Are Austin Eckler, Darius Geis, Darrell Henderson, and Miles Sanders. So don't you think like you'd rather have all those running backs over Penny? I'm assuming, right?
All of them, right? All of them over
Darius Geis. Give me all the Darius Geis.
Yeah. So that's my point. Is that if those are the 9th round running backs, he's going to go to the 10th round.
Yeah, I would. And we don't want to.
This is super
spoil my arbitrage here. So Shane, please let's get into your arbitrage here, because I don't want to move the ADPs too much of Chris Carson. Please, I just can't. I can't do it.
Couldn't bear it. Yeah, no. So the arbitrage play that I actually, you suggested this, and I love it, and I'm rolling with it, because the guy that I love and I've loved all offseason is Deebo Samuel, who is a rookie wide receiver with the San Francisco 49ers. And the arbitrage play is for me is the Dante Pettis arbitrage. You're going to be getting Dante Pettis right around that 8-9 turn in most leagues, and I mean, which is down. I mean, we've seen a pretty sharp decline.
It's down. Yeah.
So I'm looking actually at the FFPC ADPs, and 5 weeks ago, Dante Pettis was going right around 81. And in the FFPC, he's gone all the way down to 117, which is right around the 12th round sort of thing, or 11th round, which is an absolute plummet compared to where he was. Whereas Deebo Samuel, I mean, he's kind of had the opposite, where he was basically going undrafted to the point now where he's closer to the 180s. With the NFFC, which is what we typically look at, he's going right around the 14th round. So this is a guy that you're going to be getting right at the end of your drafts when you're taking your kickers and your defenses, who can frankly walk in and have an immediate impact. I mean, for those who watch the Senior Bowl or pay attention early on, Deebo Samuel, he absolutely was the star of the Senior Bowl practice week, which is so important for these positions, but also in the game. He's just a dog, man. And he's the kind of guy who, frankly, he might go undrafted, or if somebody drafted him in your league, so you guys drafted a couple weeks ago, he may be dropped in the first week or two if he doesn't make an immediate impact. I mean, right now there's a lot of question marks with Jimmy Garoppolo, but as they start to get their mojo going, I think that by week 3 or 4, you're going to see Deebo Samuel on one of our waiver wire columns pretty much every week. And I think he's going to, by the end of the season, he's going to be the guy in that offense. I think that he's a guy that quarterbacks are going to trust. He's a guy that can produce. And when you look at the age, I mean, obviously Dante Pettis was drafted a year before him, but they're actually similar ages. So sometimes that is a bit of a warning flag. But when you look at their breakout age, Dante Pettis was 20.9, whereas Deebo Samuel was 20.6. So they actually have a very similar breakout age. The main difference here is that Deebo spent an extra year in college, and he's got that experience. And you know, you look at a guy like Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think that he can roll in and become a Cooper Kupp, and he's going to be a guy that we're going to be drafting probably in the 5th or 6th round next year.
Deebo Samuel, if you look at his workout metrics as well, which numbers, you can't hide numbers. You can't hide the fact that a player is faster than somebody else. It looks like Dante Pettis, being from the Pacific Northwest, I specifically watched Pettis at UW. He wasn't even the number one guy on his own offense in Washington. He was not drafted as a guy that was going to be the number one on the offense. It seemed like mainly due to just injury and opportunity. He got the shot at number one, but it was kind of odd to see a player like Deebo, which more fits the profile of just a number one receiver. He's a little bit undersized at that number one slot, but he plays the same position as Dante Pettis.
Yeah, they said the same thing about Antonio Brown being undersized. He could very well. I like that pick because
so Deebo Samuel, 5'11", 214 pounds versus Dante Pettis, 6'1", but 186 pounds.
Yeah, he's small.
And you look at 40-yard dashes, which you're alluding to, Matt. Deebo Samuel, 4.48 40-yard dash versus Dante Pettis, 4.53. I mean, to me, similar draft equity. Deebo Samuel went at 2.04, whereas Pettis went at 2.12 last year. And then you also look at the fact that when did Pettis start to really take off last year? It was a latter part of the season, right? When he didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's not like he has that predefined rapport with Garoppolo that Deebo is just completely catching up on. So I'd say, other than obviously that year of experience, which there's absolutely value to that, which is why I think that Pettis is going to have the early season value. But as the season goes on, I think Deebo is just going to completely overtake him.
Real quick, Andrew,
good analysis.
Comments. Yeah, it's great analysis. Thank you. Andrew comments, what approach do you guys think is more optimal at the moment? RB heavy early or zero RB? He put in parentheses cheat code RBs, which is a cool little take there. For us at the Flex Network, we're getting a lot of RB early, RB heavy early. Okay, we just think that we can flex so much harder with the available wide receivers in the 4th and 5th round versus the opposite. The player that we like are loving right now in the third round. Or when I say this, I really mean me. Okay. But the player that I'm loving in the third round is Damian Williams as my second RB in the first 3 rounds. After that, you can pretty much punt the position until the 9th round, or for my arbitrage play. But what say you? Season Long says RB heavy early or 0 RB with the cheat code RBs.
So I've done a couple, you really find out where your rankings are and when you're on the clock. I've done a couple meaningful drafts to this point, and I have gone with the 1 anchor RB, mostly wide receiver heavy strategy if I'm picking at the top of the draft. And if I'm picking near the back of the draft, I found myself going wide receiver heavy, getting a running back in the 3rd round, and then just kind of fixing and fudging with those cheat code RBs later in the draft. For example, in the draft that we put up before, I did pick number 1. I got Barkley, and then I took the 2 best wide receivers on the board. And I loaded up in rounds like 6 through 10 with possibilities for my second running back. So I'm doing it a little differently in my draft so far. I think there's many paths to a championship. And I think the one that the Flex Network put together with the RB heavy strategy, the George Kittle and Round 2, it's a great strategy. I just found myself, the way the draft was falling, going wide receiver heavy in a 0 RB-esque fashion, not by intention, just taking the best value. And some of those running backs that I picked up to be my number 2 have already looking like they could be pretty good weekly plays. I picked up Duke Johnson in like the 9th, and I had Latavius Murray. So again, I don't think any of those guys are going to be my RB2 for the entire season, but if I can get 2-week clips out of either one of them and get me through a month and then figure it out, get me through another month with maybe a hot rookie bit aggressively. So that's how I've been playing it. And I hate to give 2 different answers, but there's so many different paths to a ship.
Hey, we can have 2 different answers. Okay. Rising tides lift all boats. Okay. Shane,
no, I just got a question for Al, just on that. So say you start out with your RB early, like you're drafting, call it top 5 or 6.
Okay, say I get Barkley.
Okay, say you get Barkley, right? And you roll back and you go wide receiver in round 2. Would you be comfortable with a guy like Philip Lindsay as your RB2?
Well, see again. So when we talk, league, right? So Lindsay is a guy that I haven't taken too much because of the price around the 5-6, but because what I'm doing is I'm going even later with my second RB. So no. Usually in round 5, I want to pivot to the best value on the board, which could be my flex wide receiver, or it could be a QB at that point. So if you're going to go 0 RB or anchor RB, and then which is a 0 RB-esque type strategy, I think you're looking even later, like the Duke Johnsons for your RB2. Like, I said Latavius Murray. I even think Freeman is a decent play later on. There's when you're punting the running back 2 position, you're not looking for an answer. You're looking for a group of guys that you could rotate through your answers. And the reason being that running back usually is projectable week to week, whereas wide receiver, there's so much variance week to week. Wide receiver is less variant year to year, whereas running back is more variant year to year. But week to week, the wide receivers later on are almost impossible to project when they'll go off, and that's the opposite for the running back.
So just a little bit to build on what you were saying, the Flex Network draft strategy, I think is crushing home leagues. The key of the strategy is to get Kittle in the 2nd round. That's the key. I think, in order to get Travis Kelce, you're going to have to go pretty high on him. And we are usually liking the pick 5 or 6. And we're usually going to be out on Kelce by then. Now, here's the thing. If Kelce's there in the 2nd round and in the 1st round you went David Johnson and Kelce is there, great. But it really hurts my play for Damian Williams in the 3rd round. My favorite way to do drafts this year, and I recommend everybody to try it, RB 1st round no matter what. So even if you're in the 10th, 11th pick, and everybody's off the board. I mean, name running backs that would be off the board by the 11th pick. Nick Chubb's going now as high as 5. So you got to say that all the top 4 are out. Nick Chubb's out. David Johnson's out. Once those 7 or 6 guys are gone.
Le'Veon Bell too? Are you putting Le'Veon Bell in there?
I'm
Yeah.
not going to
No.
choose Le'Veon Bell in the
Okay.
first round. I just think that it's, too many people have been burned, and I'm not trying to suggest that. I don't want to be the podcast that suggests that you go out and get Le'Veon Bell in the first round. What I do want to say, though, is if everybody's gone and it's pick 12, I'm not going to go Julio Jones. I'm actually going to roll with Todd Gurley. I mean, if you're back that far in the 12th round, why not go for a Todd Gurley? In the second round, go for a Kittle. And then in the third round, hopefully Damian Williams falls to you. And then later on in the draft, as you said, we can still go after a Duke Johnson. We can get guys in the eighth or round. He's gonna come way high up there.
Yeah.
But right now you can still get him. I mean, I've got a home league draft tonight that I'm rather confident I'm going to get guys later in the 7th or 8th round. If you do that and then just smash bang the wide receivers for the rest of the draft, you'll end up with Godwin. You'll end up with Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel. I mean, if you want to take that group of receivers and put it on a team with Gurley, Kittle, and Damian Williams, that's a championship team. I mean, that to me seems better than going with a RB1 early and then waiting to get like a Duke Johnson. But of course, we're going to flex with a Miles Sanders play later in the draft. Of course, the future number 1 running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. And that one didn't stump me. I've got my arbitrage play to end this here. And it is going to get here we go, Logan. I think I got flexed on in my home league and had to go wide receiver heavy. Here's the thing. If you get flexed on and you understand it, don't let it shake you. Don't deviate from the plan. That's the point. Some of these experienced drafters want to draft on the turn so that they can flex on you and get you off your game. Okay, we have to stay laser focused. You go out there and get yourself a nitro cold brew with sweet cream, and you run yourself through a wall and you come back. Okay, here we go. Andrew, he said he's at pick number 8. Does he go Bell or Chubb over Nuke and Adams? And we're going Chubb there. We're going to go Chubb there. We have a Chubb for Chubb. And it's going to be 10 weeks before any goal line work gets poached from this guy. But that's just me. Says, what do you say?
Well, yeah, my ranking, I'll stay true to my rankings there. And I respect the Chubb call. And as we said last week, you're getting excited about Chubb,
Hey,
but
we're just trying to flex here.
Yeah, I go Adams. I mean, Adams is money in the bank, Nuke, money in the bank. And I just think those are, and there's no threat to their workload or their targets. And these 2 wide receivers are in a class by themselves where they're going to get force-fed double-digit targets every week. But I can't hate on the Chubb pick, but I would just take the gamble and in a home league and think that Chubb could come back around to me, even though it's probably not going to happen. There's probably a 20% chance it would happen, whereas there's no chance the other 2 come back. And I'm super high on Nuke and Adams.
Shane?
I'm gonna have
Shane's
to
a Hopkins truther. Shane's a Nuke truther.
Here's the thing. I'm like Nuke all the way, right? Like to me, he's your de facto, in my humble opinion, de facto number 1 receiver this year. Kiki QT is out again. Will Fuller's always struggling with injuries. Lamar Miller is out again. So who do you go to? You go to Mr. Reliable, Nuke Hopkins. To me, if I'm sitting there and I've got those choices, I mean, I think we're all kind of warming up on Chubb simply because Duke Johnson isn't there anymore, right? So we think that he's going to play that de facto 3-down role. And we talked about, at the start of the podcast, that there's still a lot of questions out there for Le'Veon Bell, especially early on in the season. I mean, if Ty Montgomery is going to be taking those touches away from him, and Bell's now down to 15 touches a game, I mean, the reason we were drafting him so high earlier on in the offseason was simply because we thought he was going to get volume. We thought he was going to get 20 to 25 touches every single game. And even though the Jets aren't exactly going to be a prolific offense, they're going to be an offense that goes through Le'Veon Bell. If that's not the case, give me Hopkins, give me Devontae Adams, give me these guys who are going to get the volume and they're productive.
Yeah, you're not really So I was just going to add to what he said is that you're not really choosing one of these guys over the other. What you're really choosing is who you comfortable with in the second and third round. So are you more comfortable with Nick Chubb and then the receivers in the third round and fourth round? Or are you more comfortable with Nuke or Adams and the running backs in the third and fourth round? And for me, I'd rather have the receiver in the first round. And as Andrew put up on the screen, I like the Jacobs, Carsons, all those guys you can get in the third and fourth round. So that's what really drives the decision for me.
So that's what drives it oppositely for me. And this is what's so great about the Flex Network. I don't care. I mean, the Flex Network is bringing you 3 optimal strategies, all with different upsides and downsides. You pick who you like more. You pick who looks better. Okay. You pick who the guy wearing the orange shirt and the bow tie. Okay. If you like that better, of course you do. You pick the guy with the better sunglasses. Okay. What about not the Patriots jersey? That's who you won't pick.
Who was 81? Who's 81?
Randy Moss, the Hall of Famer.
Okay, yeah. All right, I love
Who's 81? We forgot. But
I
just want to real quickly say, though, we had a commenter say that the breakout age was great analytics. That was from Player Profiler.
Yes.
I do not want to not give credit because that is not our metric. And Player Profiler's awesome website. It's free. Everybody can go and look at the pretty much just one place for all the good metrics. And we love Player Profiler. So
pretty much our Bible. Let's be honest.
It's ours. I don't know if it says this, but that's okay. See, we got 3. You pick which one who you like the best. Okay, and of course he's wearing an orange shirt with a bow tie. That's who it is. Okay, so my arbitrage has something to do with Andrew's comment here. He says Fournette is there for him in the third and Carson, or he can go Josh Jacobs in the fourth round. Here's where my arbitrage takes place. Josh Jacobs, okay, going pick 39 in NFFC drafts. That's going to be somewhere in the early 4th to late 3rd. In home leagues, that's still also probably where you have to draft him. And I'm out. I'm out on Josh Jacobs, a rookie. Shane, pull up his profiler page here and give me his metrics because they're terrible. Okay. Yes, he gets, you don't have to type with your mic on here, bud. You're killing me here. You just typed a Bible on the mic. Anyway, Josh Jacobs, okay, he's a rookie. He's a slow rookie. Okay. Yes, he has all the opportunity. Okay. If Josh Jacobs wants to be great, he definitely has the opportunity. But a guy that I am flexing on much later, and I'm not even going to look the way of Josh Jacobs and those frostbitten feet of Antonio Brown. Instead, I am going to go and there it is, Josh Jacobs. Look at that. Look at that. 4.69.
Can I just add a point here? It really doesn't matter. And everything you said is spot on. It doesn't really matter what we think of Josh Jacobs. It matters what the Raiders think of him. And they thought enough to draft him in the first round as a running back. So if they think he is a good player, he's going to get the opportunity. And we know opportunity in fantasy is a huge factor. It's king. So though we all agree with you, if the Raiders think highly of him, he's still going to be a formidable pick. But I'm with you. I'm a little, I'm backing off Josh Jacobs, and I can't wait to hear who you're arbitraging him with.
Of course, I'm arbitraging him with another guy whose stats you will pull up here, Darius Geis. Darius Juice. The juice is freshly squeezed. Okay. Now, are you squeezing juice there, says? Okay, he's got his hands up. He's doing something with his hands with the juice. He's tickling the juice. No, Darius Juice. Look at that. 4.49 speed score.
That makes me excited.
5'11", 224, and he runs like he's a Mack truck. Okay. The guy clearly loves football, and I would have to say that he has a very similar opportunity with his snap share in his offense. Yes, Adrian Peterson is a way better running back than anybody who the Raiders have backing up Josh Jacobs. But here's the thing, says if you can look up Geis's ADP here, I've got him at NFFC overall about pick 76.
Yeah, but look up. Just do drafts in the last from the weekend. Just do like Thursday. When was that preseason?
74. Last 2 days is 74.
Okay, so 74 is what? Do the math.
Right at the start of the 7th round.
Okay,
So-
and that's going up.
Yes, and that's going up. But right now, tonight, you're going to get guys in the 6th. Even if you want to go up around to get guys,
You'll
it
get 'em in the
still is a better play than to select Josh Jacobs out of what is available on the draft board in that round. Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you watching us take the time to talk about this. Josh Jacobs, you're literally having to choose Josh Jacobs over your number one wide receiver. If you're drafting with the Flex Network or Matt's draft strategy, because let's look at our team if we put together a non-Josh Jacobs pick. So if we got, let's say we're going David Johnson, George Kittle, Damian Williams, and if we were to go Josh Jacobs over a Chris Godwin, Josh Jacobs over Chris Godwin this year? Hell no, we are not doing that. Okay, Godwin over or Josh Jacobs over Tyler Lockett this year? No. Nope. Keep him coming. Kenny Golladay? No, I'm not going to do that.
Hey, have you taken any Golladay? I've pushed him so far down my rankings at this point, not because I don't like Golladay, because I am very worried about Matt Stafford's back. Mike Lombardi's podcast the other day, he's the ex-GM of the Browns. He worked with the Patriots. He said that he had information just from an inside source saying that Stafford's back still isn't right from last year. I would severely back off of Golladay.
Yeah, here's the thing. In the home league that we wrecked, okay, and all of the home leagues that we are continuously wrecking, I literally was forced to draft Golladay. He had fell down the board. I want to say, like 2 rounds after the 4th round. And I was just like, I had already had Godwin. I had already had Tyler Boyd. I had already had such a good team where it was like, oh man, I have to pick him here.
Yeah, I'm just saying everyone's a value at some point. Golladay in the 4th that's the part I'm backing off of. If he falls to the 6th round, it's an obvious buy because he's so talented. But I'm just, again, it's 4th round, stay away. So I do like that in the 6th.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, with our track record after yesterday, who knows if Matt Stafford holds out, right? If he ends up, because back, I mean, that's one of those injuries that you can have for the rest of your life. And if it's to the point where it's as bad as it was last year. Now, Al, I can't remember. Did he have to have surgery on the back, or is it simply just been a recovery?
Yeah, I think it's a recovery. I think there's just the problem. And also, he's going through some pretty serious stuff with his wife too. She was very ill, and he's emotionally invested in that and her recovery. Mm-hmm. And again, Matt Stafford's a pro. He's a good quarterback, but I think he's been in the league a long time. That I don't trust that team. They've said they want to go to run first. He was injured last year, no surgery, but it's an ongoing issue. And Lombardi, who he's not the be all end all, but when he made it a point to come out and say he spoke to somebody who said it's just his back isn't right, I took that as already just as a red flag. I don't like Golladay as ADP, and when you hear something like that, you're totally out.
Yeah, and so that is the final arbitrage play. I mean, Josh Jacobs, he's just being drafted way too high, and I would if you're going to take a rookie running back, I want to say Montgomery has to be the option instead of Josh Jacobs, just by metrics and the offense. To me, I just feel like they are just in love with Montgomery. And yes, the Raiders are in love with Josh Jacobs too, but it's steaming. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to ask you both, who would you take at this point, Kerryon Johnson or Montgomery?
Well, that's not even close. That's not even close, I feel like. I mean, he's a rookie. My problem isn't that he's not going to be a great back. It's just acclimating to the speed of the game, making sure that the playbook is down. I mean, you hear about it all the time in second-year players is, okay, I know the playbook now. Everything's great. Because if you're running out there and you're having to think, at the same time, that puts you a half a second slower. And you got guys that are 10 years in the league who this game is fast to them. They just have to be there. Their body takes them there. For that reason, I mean, Kerryon Johnson's an extreme breakout this year, especially with the news of injury to their young center. They're going to have to get him the ball quicker, and it's not going up the middle. So outside, screen passes, wheel routes, easy to Kerryon Johnson. Get it out of Stafford's hand. Let's get him healthy. That's going right to Kerryon all day long. Shane, Kerryon or
no? I'm taking Kerryon too. Yeah, I mean, as much as I love David Montgomery, I think that he was coming out before the draft. There was still a lot of discussion. Some people were all in on David Montgomery. Others were all out. So he was a bit of a divisive player. Obviously, when he went to Chicago and he took over that Jordan Howard role, and just the way that he's looking in a preseason, he's got that sex appeal to him. But I think Kerryon, especially, if this Matt Stafford stuff turns out to be something that goes into the season, they're going to rely more on the run. And,
exactly.
The clown show, Matt Patricia already said they are a running offense. So, I mean, it's going to be Kerryon.
It's going to carry on. It's going to carry on with Kerryon while he boards a plane with this Kerryon. Okay, so as we end this cast, I want to talk about Andrew's comment here, and I want to get in a little bit before we end. So are you guys taking Kelce and Kittle over guys like Juju, Tyreek, and Mixon in the second? Here's the thing. Okay, and I want to talk about this because I'm the guy touting a Kelce and Kittle in the second round. So by saying that, inherently, I guess I would have to say, yes, I'm taking Kelce and Kittle over guys like Juju, Tyreek, and Mixon, but I'm not taking them in a vacuum over Juju, Tyreek, and Mixon. That's a different thing that I'm saying. What I want to do in our home leagues, because again, we are not trying to compete with Evan Silva or any of the, our rankings we're not throwing those out there. Says is for DFS Army, but it's at the Flex Network is not throwing these guys out there saying you must, these guys are better. These guys are ranked better. Like, it's not really like that. For me, I want to look at plays that I can put my league on tilt. And that is something that is phenomenal about the Flex Network is we love putting people on tilt. Okay. And just as I talked about earlier in the cast, if you want to rewind it, okay, we want to put the league on tilt so that when the other guy is with his, my rankings, this guy just drafted a guy that's 20 picks behind on my list. Is my list shit? Am I shit? What does he know that I don't know? And then it's 10 seconds on the buzzer and he goes and he drafts a kicker in the 6th round. You know what I mean? And doing that is hard to do. You can't just walk up to the board and draft the next guy on the list and expect to put your league on tilt. And so by saying we're going to take Kelce or Kittle in the 2nd round, I'm not saying that I think they're going to outperform them, but what I am saying is we are going to put the league on tilt by doing that. And by doing that, it means that, oh my gosh, maybe OJ Howard, Hunter Henry, and Ertz go in the next 10 picks. And if that happens, then we just pushed guys like Juju, Tyreek, and Mixon further down the board, which pushes the guys that we are going to flex on again in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round further down the board. And we just feel like when you take that strategy, you actually end up being able to get every guy you want in the draft versus letting the draft come to you is such a frozen fish way to play fantasy football. Am I right, Shane? If you let the draft come to you versus grabbing the draft by the sack and squeezing them until the juice becomes fresh squeezed, is that the way you'd rather play fantasy football? Or would you rather say, okay, well, let's just do what everybody else is doing and Tyreek, let's just pick him in the 2nd round? Even though, hey, I'm not endorsing that because I love Tyreek Hill. I think he's definitely a 2nd round pick, but I'm going to flex on the league and I'm going Kittle or Kelce in the 2nd round, mainly Kittle because I like Damian Williams and Tyreek Hill. So
I think the bottom line, Matt, just to put a bow on that is that if you got a guy that you love, don't let any expert. Now, granted, if this guy's going like the 18th round, like the last round, and you're taking him in round 3, there's a problem there. But if you're going to be taking a guy around early because he's your guy, I don't have any issues with that. It's your team. At the end of the day, you want to have fun. It's your fantasy team. So draft the guy that you want. Flex on your league with your guy.
Flex, baby. Season Long says, thank you, brother. We have just an amazing podcast tomorrow. I am so excited for it. I finally, today as well, I'm so excited about this cast. I think it was a great, we had a lot of great information. Today is also the start of my leagues. All my redraft leagues are finally, everybody's like after the 3rd week of the preseason or I'm out. So tonight is the start. I pretty much have like 8 drafts going in the next 2 weeks. So I'm just really excited. Says, where can everybody find you on Twitter and all of the major networks?
All of the major networks, right? Yeah, it's at Alan Seslowski on Twitter. I'm also constantly in the chat rooms on Roster Watch and in DFS Army, and right here on the Flex Network weekly, Sunday mornings. We'll post a link. There you go. Oh, he spelled it right. Look at that. Seslowsky. Nice. Yeah, at Alan Seslowski on Twitter. Season Long says podcast with you guys weekly, and also the DFS Army podcast, which we'll be doing regularly. And I'll be doing a podcast with Shane on Monday nights for the waiver wire pickups of the week. And hopefully Matt will have an opportunity to join us for that as well. Where is Season Long says, that's funny. He wants me to change my tag. I tried to change it. It felt a little, I took a look at it. I didn't like aesthetically how it looked. But
you need to put capitals in it.
Yeah, I'll play.
You need to put capitals in it. I guess it's real quick. Shane, where can everybody find you, brother?
Also on Twitter at Sealy_Shane.
Why doesn't he change his to Flex Shane?
Yeah, seriously. At Sealy_Flex Shane.
Because I moonlight as the Flex Network 1.
Yes,
Ooh.
Which is where you can find all of us here. Thank you guys. We really appreciate your viewership. Not a problem, Andrew. Always happy to answer the questions. Just a little bit about the Flex Network going forward. So once the season starts, we're going to be doing and hosting our Finding the Flex plays. The Flex Network will be searching the entire league for upside flex plays weekly because we think that beyond the waiver wire podcast that Season Long says and Flex Shane will be producing, beyond the waiver wire pickups, that's the very first thing that you should be focused on every week. And then the second thing is, okay, after I've gotten my plays and my pickups, who do I play? What happens if I've got an injury? We will help you with that. Okay, so for Flex Shane and at Season Long says, anybody else got anything to add real quick before we snap off here?
Just appreciate your healthy players on your teams, guys.
Anything?
Can't say it any better than that. Always love working with you guys, man. This was awesome.
Yes. All right, everybody. We are the Flex Network. Go out and flex in your home leagues. Become home league killers. Flex!